Hi, I'm Kerry Bentivolio, and this is the Listening Post. And today we're in Battle Creek, Michigan, to talk about some issues dealing with our kids' education, our students in public and private school, or charter school, I should say, and public school. And today we're going to speak with Melanie Curtis, who has dedicated herself, or a large part of her time, focusing on the issues around the Common Core or no Common Core. So Melanie, can you tell us from the very beginning, for the people that don't understand what we're talking about, what is Common Core and why all this excitement and debate about Common Core?
Well, Kerry, thank you very much for inviting me to participate in this conversation with you. I really appreciate it. And Common Core can be a fairly complex issue, but it's actually a very simple concept. The idea was to have common standards across the United States for all children from kindergarten through high school in math and English language arts. And within the English language arts were cross-subject topics, including science and social studies. But they technically did not include science and social studies standards. So the goal was to have defined what children should know and be able to do at each grade in those subjects.
In the minimal standards.
Right, minimal standards. Although it's argued that they are also maximum standards because the goal is to keep all kids on the same pace to eliminate inequities. So you can see right from there one of the first downsides of the concept, that children don't all learn at the same pace. Even if the teacher is trying to teach them all the same thing, some children will get it quickly and be ready to move on, whereas other children will require more time to be able to understand. It's a lot like teaching a child to walk. We all who have no little children, the average is most kids walk around 12 months. Some might walk at 10 months. Some might not walk till 14 months. But none of those children are broken. That is a normal child development issue. So right from the beginning, the concept of having these learning standards that are very specific by grade and by topic, trying to keep all kids on the same pace, is a flawed concept. Well, now recently, after the math and English language arts standards were passed, the organizations developed what they call next generation science standards, which technically are not Common Core, but they are Common Core aligned, so we put them all together. They also developed what's called C3 social studies standards. Those are Common Core aligned. Now in the social studies standards, they have an overarching emphasis on teaching children political activism from kindergarten. And this is really not, in many parents' mind, the idea of what is important about social studies. Especially with young children, the idea is more to teach them the foundation of our country, the founding documents, the intention of our governmental design. And these things are minimized in the delivery of those standards. And we go back to the science. You know how in our conversations about global warming, the public discourse is about consensus. Scientists agree, therefore we should assume it's true. That is not the scientific process. The scientific process says you establish a hypothesis, design an experiment, conduct your experiment, review your results, go back and look at your hypothesis. And many topics, as complex as weather, for example, are very difficult to come to a conclusion. Just like how the earth began. None of us were there, none of us can prove it, but there are scientific facts about it and beliefs about it that children should be exposed to in that scientific manner. But these standards don't address that. So here's the point. These standards provide the foundation. So most states adopted the standards in order to get money from the federal government, the race to the top money. When you applied for the money, you had to promise you would adopt Common Core, whether you got money or not. And Michigan did not get Race to the Top money, but we signed on to these standards. And we did it before the standards were completely written or published. So the people, policymakers who made these decisions couldn't possibly know what they were buying into. So by the time they were exposed, we were already heading down that path. So then the other design was that these standards are the things that are used to frame the assessments that states administer. Because in order to see if the teachers are doing a good job teaching, the students are doing a good job learning, you have to assess if they got what they needed to get. So the standards create the foundation, they drive the assessments. In order for the teachers to get a good evaluation, they had to make sure they were teaching those standards. So the curriculum necessarily became aligned to those standards. So let me give you another example. In math, we teach children how to multiply. We usually do it around 3rd and 4th grade when we're starting to teach multiplication. In Common Core, well, in the old days, we all learned what we call the standard algorithm, where you line up the numbers and you do the ones and the tens and then you add everything. That's the standard algorithm, invented by a great mathematician. So it was complex in terms of invention, but very easy for regular people to use. So we used to test if a child knows how to multiply, you give them 20 problems. If they get 18 of them correct, we call them proficient in multiplication. Now, under Common Core, children are asked to solve each problem using 3 different methods. The standard algorithm could be one of them or not, and then write a paragraph explaining their answer. And if the child uses 3 methods and writes a paragraph but gets the wrong answer, they're considered proficient in multiplication. But if they use one method only and get the right answer, they're considered not proficient in multiplication. So the whole definition of what it means to be proficient in multiplication is changed under Common Core standards, because the concept was we're teaching a deeper understanding of math, and these children, because they know 3 methods, have a deeper understanding. But I would challenge, I was a math major in college, and that's what my degree is in, I would challenge even people educated at my level to actually be able to articulate why these 3 different methods work. They were invented by great mathematicians. These are not things that everyday people can just come up with. And so what we've done is establish an expectation of all children, like we were asking them all to be able to walk when they're 10 months old.